Well, looks like it's 1 o'clock. About ready to start. Everyone's had their chance to chat a little bit. Call the meeting to order. Great to see you all. Thank you for coming out on this lovely fall day. It started to drizzle as I was driving in. I don't know what's happened since, but we're all hoping for rain, even though the frost is coming very, very soon. But still, a little rain would be nice. So, welcome and call the meeting to order and would like to adopt the agenda. So could I have a motion?
Motion to adopt the agenda?
And a vote?
Second.
Aye.
And let's see, does Eden vote on that or no?
No.
No? No, okay. So you don't have to vote. Okay, so we have an agenda. Thank you very much. Do we have any public comments?
There are no public comments.
No public comments, okay. So now we will go to the President's report, which will be given by the Vice President, who is very thrilled to be here today. She couldn't wait. She got here early, and she is just...
And here I am. Thank you, Board Chair Campbell. Why don't we start with the employees of the month? Charlie Schultz receives the Pass It Forward, the School of Trades, Technology, Sustainability, and Professional Studies. Charlie was nominated by A.J. Bhakta from the Office of Information Technology, and A.J. says about Charlie, your unwavering commitment to environmental sustainability and your tireless efforts to create a greener future have not only transformed the organization, but have also inspired those around you. And then the Wowgram goes to Randy Arona Torres from Kids Campus, and Randy was nominated by Isabella Jefferson from the Wellness Center. And Isabella says about Randy, Randy is an exceptional educator who consistently demonstrates a compassionate approach in his interactions with both students and parents. He is diligent in keeping parents informed about any developments pertaining to their child's behavior and academic progress. Congratulations to both Charlie and Randy.
And Randy, I take it, is not here? Okay, I know Charlie's not here. I'd like to take a moment here to also give a shout out to Kelly Trujillo and his team of folks who did a fantastic job with the eclipse. They arranged for that annular eclipse at a certain time, and they arranged for all those people to show up at the planetarium and Science on a Sphere, and to show up outside in the area to watch. It was great. It was wonderful. People were fantastic. I was outside there, and certain people had telescopes set up, and they allowed you to, they were open telescopes, so you could go around, and they had 4 or 5 telescopes. It was wonderful. Who were those folks, Kelly? Sure. It's one of those fantastic events that brings people to our campus who normally are not here.
Yes, thank you. We for this recognition. We are very happy to say that we had over 600 estimated people at that event alone. And
Yeah.
thank you. And I have to say that the people who came created a real atmosphere of excitement and wonder.
Right.
And it was just an absolute pleasure to see. I do want to recognize some certain people who were involved in the project that couldn't have happened without their help. Dr. Cheryl Sensabaugh, she is our STEM coordinator for the Space and Earth Experiences project, which this is a part of. Frank Curry, who is our planetarium director. Dr. Ed Barker, who is our lead docent for the Science on the Sphere and also a member of the Foundation Board. Annalie Mendoza, who is my student employee for the C project. The folks that you were mentioning who brought those fancy telescopes and were showing off and all their technical capabilities, those were the Santa Fe Stargazers. It's an amateur group of astronomers, and they lent their expertise and equipment, and we could not have done it without their help. My dean, Terry Tewart, Michael Tewart, Tony Kaufman, and then assistants from facilities, security, MPR, who got the word out, and most importantly, OIT, who got the big projectors set up in the classrooms and outside so that everybody could view the annularity at the same time. So it was truly a group effort, and
Yes.
I thank you for the recognition.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah, the setup in the rooms was kind of neat. We stood outside for a while, and actually it was sort of chilly out there, even though the sun was bright. And then we decided to go inside and just look at the screen, and all of a sudden there was a stream of people coming in because it was getting colder outside as the sun was covered a little more and more. It got colder outside, and people were coming inside to watch. It was really neat having that set up. Okay. And now we will move to Dr. Ortiz Gallegos to tell us about we'll finish. Sorry, the president's report.
That's okay. You all have a copy of the report, and I thought I might highlight just a few things. But if there are any questions or comments, I would be happy for you all to share those. I wanted to highlight that SFCC hosted the 3rd annual Battle Under the Hood Challenge at Capitol High, where 4 competing teams diagnosed problems with 4 vehicles. Capitol High Gear Up Coordinator Eloisa Sanchez, Automotive Technologies Program Director Julia Furry, and instructors Alan Mirabal, Adam Griego, and Skip Sauerman, and dual credit specialist Nikki McKay organized the event, and college partners at Honda Subaru and Capital Ford provided the vehicles and shared their expertise. So that was exciting. The dental program students in dental assisting and dental community health provided dental screenings and oral health education to the community at the El Rancho de las Golondrinas Harvest Festival earlier this month. And the Student Nurses Association Club participated in the Walk to End Alzheimer's. I wanted to highlight that we have a career and transfer fair coming up on November 1st. And also that the Controlled Environment Agriculture Program sponsored a student speaker series. CEA students Jacqueline George and Sam Funk, along with Trades and Advanced Technology student Gabe Smith, shared their recent Aquaponics Association conference presentations. And that was very exciting. It was in our newly high-tech, redone 216 lecture hall, and it was all very fancy and exciting. The library is hosting a series of conversations about ChatGPT, Community of Practice, in October and November, and I'm sure we'll have more information about that as we move forward, but that's an exciting topic of conversation for all of us, and I'm glad the library is taking that on. And then our ProTech program is running the training in business technology systems and social media basics. It's designed for those who are unemployed, underemployed, re-entering the workforce, or looking to increase their hireability. The program includes more than 30 hours of free accelerated training and up to 50 hours of paid training and internships. This training is happening November 6th through 17th, and then their applications are due November 1st. I'd like to recognize that Associate Vice President for Student Affairs, Tomasina Ortiz Gallegos, has received the Community College Professional of the Year Award from the National Association of Student Personnel Administrators. The award recognizes contributions to the profession, specifically regarding community colleges. It is presented to an individual who has demonstrated leadership and a commitment to the National Association of Student Personnel Administrators and or the profession in related to community colleges. Shane Tolbert has joined SFCC as Academic Director of Arts and Design. Shane will help advance the goals of the School of Arts and Design, focusing on key areas including grants, articulation and transfer agreements, recruitment and retention efforts, assessment and program review, community engagement, and special projects. He will continue to teach drawing and painting as well. And then I also wanted to mention that this past Friday, the college was closed on October 20th for Professional Development Day, and we had a wonderful program focused on a roadmap to diversity, equity, accessibility, inclusion, and belonging. And I want to thank S.J. Miller and Marcos Maez and PDAC for organizing this day and organizing the programming. It was, I think, a wonderful day. I've heard so many positive things about that experience, and so I want to thank them for their efforts. And that is it, in case anybody has any other comments.
Any comments, questions? Okay, now we can indeed go on to hear Dr. Ortiz Gallegos talk about enrollment.
Thank you, Chair Gamble, members of the board, Vice President Peters, I was going to say VP Peters, excuse me, and President Young. I appreciate this opportunity to be here with you all to share some really good news. We are up 5% in student headcount for fall 2023. This really was a campus-wide effort. I think I shared in my first meeting earlier a few months ago that there were so many things that were happening on campus. We were more intentional. We had some very strong, courageous, strategic plans as far as how we were going to recruit our students. My colleague Marcos Baez and his team did an incredible job with recruitment. Our colleagues in the academic affairs programs, they all did an incredible job at continuing to outreach to students. This all goes to show that our numbers that you see before you were a team effort. No stone was left unturned. And that definitely goes across campus all the way through our POM, our facilities, our finance folks who work with students and trying to work with them on making payment arrangements, our IT team for onboarding with IT problems and issues. And I'm probably going to forget somebody, and please forgive me. But this really was a huge campus-wide effort. And without everyone pulling together, we wouldn't be able to see the 5% increase in headcount. We also have a 4% increase in student credit hours. That's significant. What we're seeing here is that students are really coming to our institution with intent. And that's how our academic advisors are working with these students and our faculty, with intent to complete a degree, complete a certificate, complete whatever it is their intent is for the moment, and help them transition through to community college. As you can see, we have a record number, I say record within my time frame of being here, 9% increase of new students. Significant. We have about a 20% increase of out-of-state students, 15% increase of in-state transfer students, and an 18% increase on high school students. That was huge compared to this time last fall semester. Are we where we want to be? No, there's always room to grow, and we're going to use this information, all of our strategies, all of our efforts, to really work on and look at what we need to do for the spring semester and the upcoming fall. This is an interesting time for the college as we're in about 3 different semesters right now. We're working on retention efforts for our current students who are enrolled. We're working on early registration for spring semester, and we're also looking at what's coming up for next fall and next summer terms as well. So there's a lot of momentum and a lot of things happening. With that, I just quickly want to recognize the fact that early registration starts on November 6th for fall. Can you believe that? What happened to our semester? We are doing and conducting continuous, intentional, and meaningful outreach. Our marketing team has been incredible in working with us and really helping us navigate what it is we need to do and how we say what we do, because we do an incredible job, so telling our story is very important. We are in the process of midterm reviews and outreach, helping our students who need some assistance, celebrating those who are doing extremely well. That's where we're at right now. We have a lot of student engagement happening. I'm not going to mention much of it because President Young will probably cover most of it. We do, however, have a fall family festival for tomorrow, so I'm just putting it out there. This is something that we created for all of our SFCC family, so we're hoping that we get to see you all here tomorrow. And we have a pumpkin with your name on it to decorate as well. I'm also excited to share, because I know this is something that is continuing to be topic of discussion. We have awarded over 130 opportunity scholarships. That might not mean or seem like a lot considering we have over 4,000 students. That is a significant number considering that we're continuing to award. We are awarding the next batch of students because late starting classes started October 16th. Those students will now be in the new cycle, so the number will go up and continue to go up. But we're also not requiring students to complete the FAFSA for the opportunity. But we are working very diligently with all students to help them with that process. We are also seeing an increased number of students completing the FAFSA, which is really good. We're continuing with our English and Spanish versions of workshops. And this is very near and dear to, I think, many of our hearts. We have already provided service to over 4,200 individual students, families, community members through the campus cupboard. So you'll see that we are definitely addressing academic and non-academic barriers. We are always student-centered in what we're doing, and we're going to continue to grow and continue to collaborate to try and continue to provide the best service ever. So with that, I stand for any additional questions.
Fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic. Let me ask a question about the 5% increase. I'm trying to look at the various graphs here and figure where the numbers have gone up. And I see that high school students have gone up since 2022. And I'm wondering, what's the difference between the category of new students and high school students?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Chair Gamble. Our high school students are specifically that. They're still in high school. They could be concurrent enrolled and they could be dual enrolled students. So the increase in the comparison is to fall 2022 end of term. So at the end of last semester to where we're at today, we have seen an increase of 18%. So we have more students, high school students, taking college level courses right now.
Right. So any other particular group of students that have been impacted in this change? Again, I'm just looking quickly, trying to see. And out-of-state students, are those all online, presumably?
Chair Gamble, members of the board, I can pull that data for you. I'm not 100% certain. We have seen an increase of out-of-state students because of our online programming and our online offerings, course offerings. I don't have the detailed information for you right now to know if they're here in Santa Fe or attending our campus at any time, but we have seen a rather significant number, like I mentioned before, 20% increase of out-of-state transfers. They literally had to have transferred in some kind of coursework, 15 or more credits from another institution from out of state to be classified within this category. And to also just add mention to that, our in-state transfer numbers have also seen an increase of 18%. That's very telling. I was just working with a student not too long ago who was mentioning that they transferred over to us from a four-year institution. And of course, we asked the question, why? We want to know what are we doing so awesome? We know what we're doing awesome, but we want to know why they wanted to come to our institution. And it's they're in their backyard is what they said. This is my hometown. I wanted to come back. I know this college is a good college, and I definitely wanted to be able to complete where I started. And so they're coming back to us as well. well. And so you might see our returning number student be a little bit lower than what it was last year, but that's a good sign. And the reason why that's a good sign is because our retention numbers are going up and our students are staying with us and they're completing with us at a stronger rate. So that returning number we're hoping will continue to decrease, because it's great to have our returning students back, definitely, but we want to get them here, keep them here, help them complete and pursue whatever their next step of their journey is.
Right, yeah. And I guess there's no measure here about retention other than returning students.
Chair Gamble, on this particular report, you are correct. I do not have a
And I
retention
don't know
report here.
how would you measure retention
There are,
other than graduation?
Chair Gamble, there are a few measures of retention. There's a federal measure through IPEDS, which measures first-time, full-time freshmen fall to fall. We have some internal measures that we're looking at as well through programs. We're also looking at other general specific or more specific populations. So there are a number of ways that we can do that. And our expert here, Vice President Morimoto, and I was hoping he'd come up. He felt my energy, so I'll let him go ahead and continue with that.
Okay, we'll turn the mic over to him.
Well, Dr. Ortiz-Gallegos is so generous and she did a fantastic job. The only reason I'm coming up here, in addition to what Tomasina has shared with you, SFCC has this wonderful data hub website where you can actually look at the data for the last 15 years that's readily available, including retention, completion numbers. If you just type in SFCC data on the Google, I would just say search engines. If you have some other search engines, I'm sure it'll come up too. Bing, I hear, is doing better these days. So, but in there you can see the retention numbers and our success numbers, and also our program completion numbers by different areas. So, if there's any other data that you're interested in, we have over 156 Microsoft BI dashboards and almost like 160 Cognos dashboards, like almost 220 or so dashboards that are tied to live data, thanks to the hard work of Tomasina's team, IT, and IR team. So we're happy to provide access if that's something of interest.
Well, that's great to know for everybody. Thanks very much, Yash. Okay, any questions for Dr. Gallego?
I have questions, Chair Gamble.
Please.
Tomasina, congratulations on your award. That's really great. And you had mentioned that more people are applying for Pell Grants. But when I look at the charts, it looks like 65%. And correct me if I'm misinterpreting this, please. So we're up 5% from last year in the number of students or current students applying. Can you talk about efforts, right? So 70% of our student population is not applying. Can you explain what efforts are underway to increase that number? Because that seems like a lot of people who aren't filling out the FAFSA. So I'm also really relieved to hear that Opportunity Scholarship isn't tied to that. But if you can share more about what's happening there, that'd be helpful.
Absolutely, Member Quintana, members of the board, Vice President Peters. There's so much happening with FAFSA and FAFSA completion. First of all, awareness is very critical. So during our new student orientation, we have a complete session dedicated to FAFSA knowledge and awareness and communication. We've also partnered with Northern's EEOC, which is, I'm not going to remember the acronym and what it stands for right now, but they are a grant as well that offers financial aid workshops. And so we've partnered with them because they are offering these workshops online. We also have a full staff of financial aid administrators right now at SFCC who are working individually with students who come in. But in addition to that, we are working on that intentional outreach to our students. So each student is being contacted about their opportunity to apply as long as they're in a degree-seeking program. I think part of the challenge is that folks forget that you can be enrolled in as few as 3 credit hours to be qualified for a Pell Grant. So again, it's that awareness and that information that we're sharing. In addition to that, we have a couple of things that are happening through, let's say, our TRIO program, who's also hosting and offering additional workshops. Again, it's the awareness and just providing the availability during different times of the day and not just during our working hours to be able to reach out to that many more students. We also are partnering, and I really want to give a huge shout out to our our finance team, our student financials team, Nick and his team, Amy Powell, Barbara, and others, and our financial aid team, they are meeting every other week now to talk about some of the challenges, FAFSA being one of them, and other financial situations that students might be in. And so they're meeting frequently to have these conversations. So it's not just community awareness with our students, but it's within our community of the institution. So the more that we can share, the more there can be those gentle, warm handoffs. So we're also working with students who may be challenged right now to pay their bill, and we're doing some intentional outreach individually to those students to, one, make sure that they've applied, if not, to let them know it's not too late to apply, and then also to share with them and express to them the importance of also applying for academic scholarships through the foundation.
For those students who aren't applying, and this can be anecdotal, do you have a sense of why they're not, other than, right, so for those who know about FAFSA and just aren't doing it, do you know why they're not doing it?
Anecdotally, in working with students for as many years as we have, because Josh is here and it's all anecdotal information. We know, what we know from our students in meeting with them one-to-one is that it's a challenge to fill out FAFSA. I think most of us know that. And also, there are some families who are not very comfortable with sharing their tax information. That's the other. And I think the third, which we're really working on, is just the awareness. We're trying to break down those barriers for them and walk them through a step-by-step and getting them more comfortable with going through that process. So I definitely feel like there's going to be a culture shift. There's also going to be some significant changes to FAFSA coming in December. I'm not sure if you all have read recently that FAFSA should have been open and available by the Department of Education now in October, but they pushed it back to December. They're making some changes on their end to the application itself. So we're hoping that those changes are helpful to our students in applying for financial assistance. And there's also discussions of changing not EFCs, excuse me, and changing Pell Grant eligibility. So we're hopeful in that. So once we learn, and there's a lot of, I just spoke with our Director of Financial Aid earlier today, and he says, Tomasina, there's a lot of information coming in and going out, and so they're balancing that right now. So it's not just a matter of those changes, then it's internal changes to our systems, right? So we're trying to stay on top of that to better prepare our students for next year. Oh, and excuse me, we've also done outreach to the high schools. So in collaboration, because we have 900 and some who are right now in dual credit, there's many others who may not be with us, but we're still reaching out to them on financial aid workshops. So we're working through the high schools to provide these workshops to better prepare these students, whether they attend SFCC or another institution of higher education. Again, the awareness piece.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Just following up a little bit, the difference between Pell, Legacy, and Opportunity, are the requirements are different for each of those?
Chair Gamble, are you talking about lottery, the Pell Grant, the
Lottery,
Okay.
yeah.
So they are different. They're different for all three areas. So Pell Grant is based off of FAFSA application and what we call EFC, which is estimated family contribution, and so that's all through tax information. That is governed to us by Department of Education. The lottery and the Opportunity Scholarship are both in statewide, funding, and both of those scholarships come with different requirements. The lottery scholarship is not available to students coming right out of high school for their first semester. They have to become established and meet certain criteria in order to start collecting it the subsequent semester. And then Opportunity is...
But the Opportunity is available first semester, is it?
Chair Gamble, Opportunity is not available for first semester high school graduates. Those are for returning students and other students who meet different criteria. So I can gather all of that information and provide it to you in a more detailed response, either for our next meeting or before then, if you'd like.
Well, I guess one of the things I'm wondering is rather than the data, sort of a change in policy so that first semester students could get, because presumably that is a financial barrier for first semester students. And maybe we need to be lobbying the legislature to change the requirements for the Opportunity Scholarship, because certainly the Department of Higher Education is advertising. I think there was an article in the paper today or yesterday about how great the Opportunity Scholarship is, and that may be so, but it could be greater.
Chair Gamble, I definitely believe there's a lot of opportunities to help our New Mexico residents further their education.
I have a question tacking on to that. Is lottery available to first-time graduating high school students, or is lottery or first semester? So if the Opportunity Scholarship is not available, never mind. I know the answer. I take my question back.
Okay, member.
It's all coming back to me now.
Quite a bit of ins and outs, and I definitely would be more than willing to
Yeah.
have our Director of Financial Aid put something tangible together for you all to have a quick reference with.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
you.
And now we will go to Faculty Senate report. And Dr. Valdez.
Afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, Chair Campbell, members of the board, Dr. Bradley. Hope you all had a good semester thus far. I'll give my presentation and then take any questions you may have. At our latest Senate meetings, we've hosted various guests in departments around campus. This has been insightful, productive, and has helped grow communication and understanding amongst the faculty. Our latest meeting, we hosted Jennifer Brenizer and Kelly Trujillo, who came to discuss the new faculty evaluation process. Their willingness to work with the faculty was much appreciated. Took questions, took suggestions, assured us of certain things, so we thought it was extremely productive. Teresa was here, Rodwall, and she answered questions about the overload contract birthday, and Laura White discussed the 9-3 external funding grants policy. So all of those meetings have been, and discussions have been, like I said, extremely productive. I'd also like to briefly mention that we successfully secured more funding for faculty to transition classes over to OER, which has been extremely productive amongst everyone I talk to. The students are happy about not having to pay for books anymore, and the new bookstore has been, no complaints. They've been working with all of us really well. So we hope that production keeps going. And finally, I just want to extend a special thanks to the PDAC committee, Dr. Amna Nayar, Dr. S.J. Miller, Marcos Mayes, Dr. Kelly Trujillo, Tony Kaufman, and others who worked diligently to produce one of the most productive professional development days in the college's history. Seems like everybody really enjoyed it, thought it was insightful. We had Dr. Azadeh Asanlo, who led what seemed to be an all-star cast of speakers who enlightened and incited all in attendance with, I think, timely and poignant presentations. So we hope all future professional development days will follow suit. We look forward to always working with the board. As always, our next meeting will be hosting actually Lena German, who is one of the persons going forward seats. And hopefully Member Wilson will also be joining us in November. You, of course, are all invited. And yeah, thanks for hearing my comments. I always appreciate you. Any questions? I'm happy to take them.
Any comments or questions? Jared, I would like to take the opportunity to commend you and your staff for putting together a very nicely organized and readable report. It was,
Awesome.
it was quite a change from previous narratives. I don't know if you had an English faculty member who sort of brought you to your current position, but it
Doctor-
reads very well.
Dr. Valdez is an English faculty member.
Oh, there we are.
There you go, you're straight to the source. I appreciate that, Chair Gamble, definitely appreciate that, and we'll keep that tradition rolling as well. And Vice President Peters, I didn't even, I thought, noticed you there when I switched over to my notes. Hi, it's great to see you.
No worries. It's not my usual spot. Thank you.
Do you want to comment anything more on the Professional Development Day, which you said was quite good? Yeah, why was it good, and how can, I know that that has been an interest for a long time, and yeah, what made it so good?
You know, I think what made this one so special was the involvement of the committee and the faculty. We all had a say on who the speakers were going to be, specifically what the topic was going to be, which was equity and inclusion. And I think that all those talks, Dr. Lopez, right, on equity, the talk I did with Dr. Moore on you know, and we focused on our native students, you know, and indigenous people here in New Mexico. And it wasn't just lecturing. And that was also a great key to it, is a lot of the talks, we did workshops, we involved tables, we were communicating, you know. They were asking questions, we did question and answers, you know. We were joking that we had a little between two ferns discussion there, you know, as that goes and after. So I think though everybody felt involved, you know, and we had a say and we had ownership over the meeting. And again, I think that, you know, just showing that Dr. Awesome was within her willingness to come and lead the whole entire procession was awesome and amazing. And I think that, you know, the productivity and the results of the Professional Development Day speak for themselves. Everybody I've talked to, in fact, me and Vice President Peters just had a great discussion the other day, a talk, and she was telling me that everybody she's talked to has just really reiterated how much they learned, how much they're a part of it, and just how great the speakers were. And of course, you know, we have the great committee, you know, SJ was there behind the scenes all the whole time. I was able to work on the committee the whole entire summer. And you know, we had the best MC in the business, Marcos, there to, you know, fire everybody up. We were giving out, you know, giving out shirts and hoodies, and it was great. And we had so many people that showed up too, you know, for 100, I believe. So it was just it was great, you know, not to mention everybody else online. So again, it was extremely productive, and I hope that tradition will continue in the future. So.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks very much. Any other comments or questions for Jared?
Chair Gamble, I would just second the faculty minutes. They were really informative, and I really enjoyed them, so thank you.
Great. I'll reiterate that, but I'm going to take it. Thank you. Sure.
Okay, thank you very kindly. Jared.
Thanks. Have a great day, everyone. Good to see you. We'll see you next time.
Okay, staff Senate report. And we have, yes.
Well, good afternoon, Chair Gamble, members of the board, Vice President Peters. Thank you for the opportunity to present on behalf of Staff Senate this afternoon. We'd like to start off also, Staff Senate would like to thank the President's Diversity Advisory Committee for the excellent job that they did for our fall semester Professional Development Day, which was held, of course, we just talked about last Friday. Staff understand the importance of this day and always appreciate the time and effort it takes to organize an event like this. So we also, we're staff, we're very, very happy to be there. Co-chair Marcos Maez is here, and we appreciated that. So thank you. Also, we'd like to thank the Technology Advisory Committee for their continued updates on the following items that they're always keeping us up to date. A new training platform from Workday will be introduced alongside KnowBe4. The new phone system project is moving forward and will go live on December the 12th. SFCC's current multi-factor authentication, the MFA provider, is making a change to enable stronger MFA methods. We have some special shout outs because this is a lot of stuff that staff is working through. The first shout out is to Chris Lebson, who is our TAC committee member for Staff Senate. Mason Kovac, the Director of User Services, and his staff for their help and patience as staff worked through the multi-factor authentication process, and I was one of those. They were very patient with me, so appreciate that, Mason and your staff. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. Who was responsible for the 17-character password?
Keeps us safe.
Someone has told me that that's sort of commercial grade, but I sort of ran out of 17 characters.
Here comes Corey.
There's Corey. Yes.
Hi, Corey.
Hi. Well, so, I'll say that the Technology Advisory Committee had a lot of discussion about this. I mean, the reality is that anything under 16 characters can be broken quite easily. But I think about a year and a half ago, we agreed that we would go down to a once-a-year reset policy if we increased the number of characters. So there was some give and some take there. So I apologize. It's unfortunately the world that we live in. So thank you.
Okay, Corey, at some point, you'll have to, explain to all of us sort of non-mathematicians the difference between 16 characters and 17 characters.
Well, I can't say exactly why we chose the number 17 because that is quite odd. I'd have to go out and dig that. But yes,
okay.
We do want to make sure that we've got strong passwords, strong MFA. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Sorry for the interruption.
Well, our last shout out goes out to Corey, our CIO, for her continued open communications with all staff, just like she did there. If we always can contact her, and she's always there to help us. We appreciate that, Corey. Thank you. Staff Senate would like to thank Vice President Yash Morimoto for his updates and information to staff on the upcoming HLC accreditation. There's a lot of questions, and Vice President Morimoto has been great in making sure the staff and Staff Senate understand what's coming up. So we appreciate that, the information. Staff Senate has also added to their committee representative updates a strategic plan updates highlights portion. And this is facilitated by Todd Bruce, our strategic planning and special projects coordinator, who's here today with us. Todd will give Staff Senate regular updates on the initiatives, which we think are very, very important. If Senate members are interested in more detailed updates, Todd can invite project leads to present. So we're very, Todd came to us and asked us if we would like to do that, and staff was very happy that he was willing to bring that, to help that, to lead that, I should say, or facilitate that. And also, on behalf of Staff Senate, we'd like to welcome, SGA President Aiden Young. Welcome, Aiden, on behalf of Staff Senate. With that, Co-Chair Michelle Renteria and myself, we stand for any questions.
Michelle, did you want to add anything?
Robert has it covered. Thank you.
Okay. Comments or questions?
Chair, I would just like to thank you for the update on the composting. that it's Reunity that comes out and gets it. So mystery solved, huh?
Absolutely, Vice Chair. Yes, thank you. And we've been in contact with Ondine and Charlie, and they have been very gracious in saying whenever you need us to give more updates or anything for Staff Senate, they've been reaching out to us. So staff appreciates the updates on that. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
I also want to commend the staff for your report. Your report looks like the faculty report. Did you have some English professor input?
Chair Gamble, no, we don't. We've had Laura Smith, who's a librarian. She's our secretary.
I see.
She does our reports. Yes.
Oh, very nice, very readable, very good.
I will let her know, Chair Gamble. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we have a very special occasion. We get to introduce and to swear in, not swear at, swear in, a new student representative. And Eden Young.
Aiden.
Eden.
Aiden.
Aiden.
Yes.
No. Aiden or Eden?
Aiden.
Aiden.
Aiden. Sorry. I asked her before and I thought I heard Eden. Aiden. Great. Aiden. We are now going to swear you in. Do you have the paper? Would you read that?
Of course. Do you want me to stand or anything?
Stand and, yeah, just.
I, Aiden Young, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the Office of Member, Santa Fe Community College Board, Santa Fe, New Mexico, which I am about to enter, according to law and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Great. Thank you. So you're now official, so that now you can really ask questions.
I will try.
And now you can give a report.
Oh boy. All right. Well, firstly, Chair
And you
Gamble-
can speak into the mic.
Yes, of course. Firstly, Chair Gamble, Vice President Peters, and members of the board, I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you all and present this report. So I think one of the most important things, and I'll go in chronological order just to cover things, but one of the most important things that happened in September, on September 29th, was we swore in 3 officers, myself included. These officers for SGA really allow us to make more student initiatives and reach out to the student body in a more meaningful way than just staff members interacting with students. We also have the El Scoop student newsletter that was first published, and there were also 10 clubs that were established for the academic year of 2024. This also brings a lot more student engagement to Santa Fe Community College. Clubs like the Breath Savers Club are attending a conference pretty soon here, which we approved the budget for. So we're really excited to see that they're going out into the world and enriching their clubs and themselves and bringing it back to the college. In October, we had Hispanic Heritage Month, which was a luncheon that was held on October 4th. We also had a major milestone that was achieved with the introduction of the first Student Professional Day, which we were speaking to more lengths from earlier. This day was wonderful. I got to attend it personally, and I really appreciate that we put an emphasis on enriching the experiences and strengths of student workers. So Student Professional Day, definitely a favorite in my book. Let's see. So the Fall Family Festival is scheduled on October 26th, and this is an event that is expecting at least 150 children and their families to attend. Of course, this is an event that is angled towards trying to engage, more Halloween. Sorry about that. We're engaging with students and families and alike. We have a really large grouping of students that have children, so figured it would be better to engage with them there. SFCC will host their annual Halloween event during the daytime to include office decorations, kids campus parade, and a costume contest. And then later on in November, you'll see that almost every single week in November we have an event planned. We have SFCC is going to be hosting a career fair on November 1st, along with various workshops. And plans are in motion for a special Veterans Day activity with details to be announced soon, honoring the sacrifices and dedication of veterans. We also have Indigenous Month celebration with the possibility held on November 14th. We're recognizing and celebrating the rich cultural heritage of Indigenous communities, and SGA is going to be sponsoring the annual Thanksgiving Food Box Initiative. If you're not familiar with what this is during Thanksgiving time, SGA and the Campus Cupboard coordinate to try and make sure that families, households, and everyone associated with the college, staff, students, and other members can benefit from, or at least have a Thanksgiving or a celebratory meal of sorts. And moving on, we just have a quick notification about the Campus Cupboard, which I personally work in from time to time. The Campus Cupboard continues to grow each month, and it's fulfilling its critical mission of supplying groceries to our students and staff and faculty. In August, we served over 790 individuals, and the number has increased to 820 in September. Our services extend to providing snacks and stocking 5 cabinets around campus. So if you look around campus, there are these large gray cabinets filled with different a variety of different groceries that you can take without needing to fill out any information. You just take what you need, and it's anonymous. Something that's really important to us is making sure that student and faculty's identities remain anonymous during this process, because this can be a sensitive topic for certain people. In addition, our commitment to supporting our campus community includes providing clothing services in the Exchange, which is directly across from the Campus Cupboard, if anyone's been. And the Exchange is where individuals receive assistance in terms of clothing. So if you lack formal wear, then you can get free formal wear from the Exchange, as well as other clothes and toys for children. And we also have, we also look forward to upcoming events and initiatives in the months ahead of us as we strive to enrich the academic experience for all of us. That's all on my end, and I stand now for questions from the board.
Thank you. Comments or questions for Aiden?
Chair Gamble, thank you for all the wonderful things you're doing. I have a question about the career fair that's on November 1st, and that seems very exciting to me. How do you work with the students to kind of get them to participate? Do you guys advertise it, or is it more the college? How's student government get involved in that? Do they?
There's a couple ways that we can get involved. There's also a large amount of on-campus and on-site advertising that we can provide. There's of course a newsletter. There's the online Canvas notifications, and then there's also the various bulletin boards around campus. That's really an indirect way that we can notify students about the career fair. Another way is word of mouth. If we discuss it as an item on our agenda, then it becomes more well known. Another thing that we are able to do is we might be able to, as SGA members, go out and set up tables and do more kind of boots on the ground, spreading word. Because honestly, word of mouth, I feel like, is one of the major ways that people feel encouraged to attend these kinds of events. You can see a newsletter, but if you know that someone you know is going to be attending, it makes it all the more inviting.
Yeah, and I think the students work so hard, and the career fair at least exposes them to the opportunities that are out there.
Right, there's so much to benefit from during this fair, so I do look forward to trying to get as many students as possible to attend this event.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Oh, just another side note. I don't know if I mentioned this, but the officers at the SGA officers are going to be attending a conference in Dallas from November, I believe, is it 2nd through, yeah, that's right, we moved the day, 2nd to the 5th. Yeah.
What kind of conference?
It's going to be an SGA conference, so we're going to be meeting and conferring with many other student government associations from all across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chair Gamble.
Yeah, please.
I just want to welcome you, Aiden. It's really nice to have a student representative back, especially now that board meetings are in person. And I just really look forward to working with you and hearing more about what's happening on the student side. So thank you for being here, and thank you for taking on this role, because I know it's work in addition to the things you're already doing. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
Aiden, also, I would ask if you would take just 2 minutes and tell us about yourself. Like, how long have you been here with the community college, and what you're majoring in, and your favorite professors? Oh, I guess you shouldn't say that. But
I'll keep favorite professors confidential, but I've sincerely enjoyed a lot of them. They're amazing people here. I come from Silver City, New Mexico, which is about 5 hours from here. And originally I grew up in a small mountain town where I had 16 kids in my graduating class. It was a really, really tiny class. And our emphasis was on experiential education there. We'd go backpacking into the woods. But since then, I had studied at WNMU, I got a trade degree, and now I've transferred here to Santa Fe Community College. This is my first semester here, and my first 3 months living in Santa Fe. So I'm very new here. Yeah.
And your major area of interest?
My major of interest is going to be social work primarily. So here at Santa Fe Community College, I'm technically enrolled in human services, which I'm planning on adapting into a 4-year degree.
Wonderful.
Other than that,
Okay.
I can't think of much else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you for sharing that.
I'm very curious what mountain town you're from.
You're what?
Silver City, yeah.
It's Silver City, yeah.
It's easy enough to always describe it as just, it's just some random.
Yeah. I thought you were maybe like from one of the surrounding towns, like Cliff or something like
Oh, yeah.
that.
Reserve.
Right. Yeah.
Vila, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank kindly, Aiden. Okay, next agenda item, the approval of our consent agenda minutes from our previous 2 meetings. And do I hear a motion to,
I moved to approve both. I didn't have any changes, and thank you, Audrey. They looked great. Yeah, they were very long, and you did a great job.
I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approved. And there are no action items to be removed from the consent agenda. So now we go to non-consent, and we have Mr. Tellis on the financial report.
Yes, Mr. Chair, board members, and Vice President Peters. In front of you, you have the financial report for the month ended September 30th, 2023. In this report, I'll just start out by saying that things look like they're on track, and nothing really for me that stands out to be alarming at this point in the year.
That's good.
Always, yes, yes. So, with that, the operating bank account at the end of September had 40.3 million, compared to the prior year where we had 37.9 million, an increase of 2.4 million. Tuition and fee revenue was flat at 2.8 million year over year. State appropriation revenue was 3.3 million this September. Last September we had about 4.2 million, and that's decreased on the books by 934,000. However, I believe that's a timing issue of last year we had received some, I think, one-time junior bill funding early in the year, so that should catch up as we move on through the remainder of this fiscal year. Local mill levy appropriation revenue was 148,000, and last year it was 207,000. It's a very minimal amount for local appropriation. We get most of our funding from local mill levy, so that will come when folks pay their property tax bills 2 times during the year, one in right around December, January, and then later in the fiscal year around May, June. And so we have ING revenues in total decreasing by 1 million, and that's down about 14% over the year, totaling 6.3 million. However, a lot of that is the state appropriation revenue and that timing issue that should level out as we move through the year. Total ING expenses have increased 6% or 535,000 and totaled almost $9 million. If you look at compensation, compensation was up in September over the year about 25%, up 1.6 million for a total of 7.8 million. And the categories of supplies, expense, equipment, utilities were down 1.2 million, down 1 million and 47%. With that, that's a summary of the management discussion and analysis. And I don't know if you all have any questions on that at this point, and then we could move on to the detailed report when you're ready.
Comments, questions?
No question.
No, maybe go on. Thank you, Nick.
Okay. So moving on, let's see. Yeah, I think you'll have to scroll to that report, yeah. Keep on going. Yeah, go ahead and keep on going. I think it's the next page. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Mason. So this is the detail on the cash. As I mentioned earlier, we had about 40.3 million in the operating account, 37.9 million in the prior year. The important thing to remember about the operating cash is that about 12 million of that, over 12 million of that is reserved for the board policy on a mandatory cash reserve. And then we also have additional institutional monies that are included in that balance that are set aside for the future 4 or 5 years of maintaining a balanced revenue to expense budget in ING. There's still the reserve cash account for NMFA bonds, $300,000. And then we still have NMFA bond proceeds. That's for the microgrid and energy performance contract of 2.3 million there, and we'll be spending that down quite soon as we've worked with P&M to keep that project moving. Siemens is still continuing to work with P&M on the technicalities of interconnection and all of that stuff. So that's still proceeding, but we're making a lot of good progress on that, and we believe we'll spend down on those proceeds early in the next calendar year. And the debt service account, that's debt cash that's available to pay back our outstanding local bonds, and that's $1.2 million. So, any questions on the cash? Margaret?
No comments, questions?
All right, moving on to the ING detail. This is a lot of tedious information. We are 25% of the fiscal year complete through September, so the first quarter is what this report consists of. And you see there the relationship between last year actuals and this year actuals for tuition and fees. That's flat at about 0%. We had almost $8 million this year and just about the same last year. That state appropriation amount is down 22%, but again, that will all settle out later on this year. And local mill levy appropriations this is pretty normal, very limited revenues that are accounted for at this point in the year. And then our other sources are down 64%, fairly small number. Last year was 63,440 compared to 22,543 this year. If you look at the expenditures for instruction, the instruction exhibit are 9% up over the year. Academic support, 8% of an increase. Student services up 7%. Institutional support up 7%, and plant operation maintenance down about 6%. I think a lot of that is the decrease there is the utility bills seem to have gone down. Last year they were spiking incredibly high. Natural gas prices were really, really high last year, as well as even just our energy bill was quite high last year. So to be expected, and then you can see the detail on the compensation and some of the more of the supplies, expense, equipment categories there. But as I said earlier, everything looks really good financially through this first quarter. So I'm happy to report that to you. And then if you turn to the Public Service Fund, this looks really good, relatively speaking. We have conference center revenues of $152,435, very limited expenditures in that area. Kids Campus revenue of $400 and almost $9,000, and expenses of $236. So that's where we want to see things with Kids Campus. And our Firstborn program is basically flat with revenues and expenses, balancing out to almost $28,000 on the positive side there. At the bottom of this report, it's always tricky for higher ed budget and finance, because you have the two main categories of funds: those that are unrestricted and those that are by definition restricted. And by definition, restricted funds are usually official grant funds, and so we add that information at the bottom, where Kids Campus, you see they have restricted dollars of $369,929 in revenue, and those are grant revenues, and expenditures of $370,323, and so they basically balance out revenues to expenses. And those are funds that are additionally important to operating that program. And so, but we really can't combine. I mean, you're really not supposed to combine the restricted and unrestricted together. It will confuse things. Any questions on that? Public service?
Yeah, Nick, sorry.
Go for it.
The Kids Campus, that's quite a balance carrying forward from that 950,000 to have 172,000. Is there, how do we understand that?
So yes, the Kids Campus line item there, that first block, blue block, is the budget that we anticipate.
Right.
That we had approved way back in April. And so we're anticipating receiving Kids Campus revenues of about $950,000 in revenue, and then we would basically have $950,000 in expenses. Through this first quarter, through September, we've received $408,977 of the $950 that we've anticipated.
Right.
That looks pretty good. And then expenditures have only materialized in the amount of that $236,722. I think that as we move through the year, I believe that there won't be that big of a balance carry forward for them. I think that the budget that we anticipate is going to be pretty accurate in terms of them getting to that $950,000 of expenditures. It's just kind of it's early in the fiscal year, first quarter. So
Uh-huh.
we'll see those things grow, both
I see.
actual revenues and actual expenditures.
Okay. So it's somewhat of a timing issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question. On the previous slide, Mason, could you go back? Just, yeah, there. So under the breakdown, compensation and expenses, so the salary and wages and the benefits, that total of 7.755 million there, that reflects the increased salary, right?
Correct.
And so that's for 1 quarter. So essentially, 1 quarter of salaries, wages, and benefits costs about 7.7 million for us. I'm just thinking about the 12 million we have set aside in reserve.
Yeah.
So that's our new number for a quarter, right?
Yeah, I think you could look at it that way, that, through the first quarter, 7,755,490 is what we have spent, and the budgeted amount is that 32,500,124. So the first quarter is, does look like a quarter of what we've budgeted, so
We're a bit under.
that should,
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of, it's not going to be equal. Second quarter, faculty's off, early in December, around there. So it's not really an equivalent total cost, but,
Okay.
and so, yeah, but I think generally speaking, you could say 25% each quarter will be 7.75.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how far the 12 million would go.
Yeah,
If we ended up.
Yep, that's a good
It
way
would
to
be
think
3,
about it.
4, maybe into 5 months, so.
Yeah, it's only,
Okay.
that 12 million, while it sounds like a lot of money sitting idle, it really is only about a quarter, 4 months of payroll if things really got bad somehow.
Right.
I don't have any indicators of anything really bad. Famous last words, but
Yeah.
yeah, you can't expect the things that really go wrong, and who was really predicting COVID actually
Yeah.
materializing.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify since it changed with the salary.
But that's kind
increase.
of the
Okay.
thinking of what's reasonable to keep in the cash reserve is 3 to 4 months of actual payroll, because we want to be able to do that. And a lot of institutions, governmental institutions, are almost required to keep that 3-month reserve.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so public service looks good. And then our auxiliaries. We are receiving revenue from our bookstore operations. We won't have any expenditures, really. We did budget some because there was so much uncertainty with what was going to happen. I don't believe those will materialize, and as we finalized that contract after we had approved the budget, we did agree to have the college receive some of the revenue in gross sales at the bookstore, and so that's going to show up here. We also have pretty much finalized our sort of accounting and system for food services, and so those dollars will start showing up here as well as we pay invoices for food services. So keep track of the revenues received there.
So on the bookstore, what's the arrangement with the bookstore?
It is, if I remember correctly, it's 3% of gross sales, up to $750,000 in gross sales. If the bookstore exceeds that 750,000, then we'll get a higher rate, more than the 3%. I can't remember if it's 6 or 8%, but it'll increase there. So, and that's it. And we don't pay that. We don't pay Follett for anything really. other than having them operate the bookstore operations, and then sort of share in the profit in the gross.
And we don't charge them rent or utilities.
We are not, no. Yeah.
Other comments, questions?
Okay, and then we have the plant fund. This is always exciting to look at. There's a lot going on with this one, but it's pretty straightforward. We've had in the columns that are to the left of the more grayed out header, you'll see ETN 2021. Those are some educational technology notes that we can only use for software and things similar to that. We spent down $604,568 in that category. We have utilized $189,220 of New Mexico Department of Information Technology shared services and cybersecurity funding that we've received from the state. And so we account for those costs there in that column. And then our local bonds and state bonds, we have very limited amount of local bonds that have been expended, and I think even any of those proceeds from the previous local bond issuance that are even outstanding. So we've spent down on pretty much all of those things. State bonds are basically cost reimbursable, so we spend that money up front from state legislative capital appropriations that the college gets, and then the state reimburses us for those. In the more light blue institutional grouping, you'll see those dollars there for the Technology Education Committee and student tech fees. In that category, we have about $64,510 that have been spent down through the first quarter. And then you'll see the two important columns: institutional monies, unallocated, that's that 9.836. And as Member Pugh had pointed out last time, I looked at that, and we had done the transfer of $839,123 to go back to the general fund to support that planned deficit. So every year, out of that, what was $10 million, remember that was that.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, yeah, so we're gonna take and take some of that and place it back into the ING to balance things out.
Okay.
So that's why it's being reduced. It's not being reduced for any other thing other than what we've planned. So you see that there. And then the important $12,671,183 is that policy required cash balance that's incredibly important to the institution. And then you'll see some of the numbers for the mandatory renewal and replacement there. That's it. That's the plant fund. Looks great, and we're just really excited to be so close to November 7th with the election and our ballot question that's on that ballot, and hoping that everybody votes on that bond for public schools and Santa Fe Community College. It's really important. It really does help maintain the college and keep up with. It's a big facility and has a lot of deferred maintenance and things like that, and some of the things in this bond with the student hub will be really, really beneficial to students and make things easier for people to navigate throughout the college.
And the publicity's been good. Certainly Becky's letter in the newspaper and the postcards that went out.
I know, I think Becky and Dr. Rowley and Todd have been on the radio a few times.
As well.
Yeah.
Okay. And I haven't seen any negative publicity at all. Maybe that's because all the negative is directed to the housing, the affordable housing issue.
3%.
Okay, any other questions for
I do, and maybe kind of a heads up for Nick. So back in June, the board had talked about reestablishing the finance committee, and I know we've been slow to do that. And I think for me in particular, this is something that I'm really interested in because I'm curious about digging deeper into the financials. So I think this report is always very helpful, but I think the finance committee will allow us to dig a little bit deeper on things like. So for example, like I'm curious about profits and losses for CTCE and what's happening with Mosaica going forward, the chess project, and then also looking deeper at what's happening with compensation. And so that's something that I think as a board we have to decide, is it going to go back to what it was pre-COVID where it was every board member participating, or is it more like we have a couple of representatives who are then meeting and who's on that finance committee? So just to give you a heads up, Jody and I both talked to President Rowley about this while we were at the past conference, and just looking closely at some of the best practices that are out there, and also just our interests and needs to be able to ask more questions that this meeting doesn't really allow us to do in the way we would like to. So just a heads up that's something that you can expect to happen, and we'll work with President Rowley and the rest of the board to decide what that's going to look like.
Okay, that's great. And I had, Mr. Chair and board members, I had been working on preparing that request for the chess financials, and it's a pretty hefty. It's been a pretty hefty kind of look into and researching everything, and so I hope to have that to you in our next meeting. I think that's going to be December early, right?
6th.
So it won't be November, but December 6th. Yeah. Hopefully we'll have time. That's usually a busy meeting, but yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you all.
And I will
Thank you,
move
Nick.
to approve the financial report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
And now we will have approval of the Edwards Networking Fire Alarm and Voice Evacuation System upgrades. Mr. Apodaca.
I think, Mr. Chair, board members, and Vice President Peters, I think John is out today, so I have Andrew Mueller with our facilities office and Dobby Schmidt with facilities as well. They know the ins and outs of this project, and it's a really important project that we've been working on for quite some time. It has to do with the obviously fire alarm and voice activation emergency management system. So with that, I'll turn it over to Andrea.
You all have heard about this project already many times, I think. We're finally here to the contract. So hello, good afternoon, Chair Gamble, members of the board, and Vice President Peters. Thank you for having us today and reviewing this contract. We went through a pretty good RFP process to select the vendor for this. It turned out to be IntraWorks. They're out of Albuquerque, and we're confident they'll do a great job for us. We're going to do this project in phases because we don't have the full funding right now to complete phase 2. So phase 1 is going to be the installation, sort of the backbone of the system, which is replacing all of our panels around campus. There's about 7 total panels and all of the wiring and connections that happen between them. So that's going to be the first portion of this project, and we're looking forward to it because we have a lot of state funding that we're going to be drawing down on and finishing spending down on. So that's exciting for us. And then phase 2, we're just right now, this contract will purchase the equipment for phase 2, and then the installation will come later when we get more funding, and we're hoping that we will be able to use the local bond funds in the future for that phase 2 completion. So with that, stand for questions.
Could you give a very quick sort of overview of what this project is? What will it do? What's the end result?
Yeah, so basically what it will do is it will remove our old legacy fire alarm system completely and replace it with a brand new system. It's the same manufacturer, it's the Edwards manufacturer that our current system is, but for instance, if you were to go into the security office currently, you will see a very old panel. And so that is going to be completely replaced with all new software, all new computer hardware. And then all around campus, there's these different locations where you see fire panels that give you information about where an emergency might be taking place. Those will all get replaced, so you'll see brand new ones everywhere. The other thing that it's going to do is it's going to be a voice evacuation system now. Right now we do not have that, so this is the new technology. So you'll actually hear an evacuation alarm, which is awesome, and we need that. So there'll be new devices all around campus that will be audible with actual voice speak. What else? Dobby?
We have, yeah, the smoke detectors, heat detectors, duct detectors. All this equipment that's being replaced now is pretty much the original equipment that was put in when the buildings were built. So you're looking anywhere from 30 to 20, 5 years old. So it's pretty ancient equipment. Yeah, we're going to look at doing.
Not in this contract.
Yeah. So, but yeah, everything pretty much dealing with the fire protection system.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they already came in and made an assessment of like the sprinkler heads, sprinkler lines, all that stuff. So whatever needed to be replaced on that will be replaced, but not much of that. That's pretty good. So it's more the electronic.
Chair Gamble, I have a
Please.
question. You guys have probably told me this, but I'll ask again. So when all the alarms come into the security office, right, that's going to be your central location, will it automatically then trigger the voice alarm, or do you have to have a person there that then issues maybe a pre-recorded voice alarm? How does that work? Is it automatic, comes in, goes back out? What is?
And that's going to be something that will probably be addressed with the architects and engineers, whether we actually need to do that or don't need to do that. That's still a decision that's going to be made as the contract, you know.
Okay, because if it has to go through a person, then you have to have staff or something 24/7.
I'm sure it's going to be automated, and we'll probably talk with the engineers and architects about that.
Okay.
Yeah, the way I kind of understand it is depending on the level of the alarm, sometimes you'll have, maybe just smoke, and then you don't need to evacuate because it's a small, like isolated area that's been managed already. So I think it depends on the level of the alarm itself as to whether you evacuate the entire building or whether there's just a pocket of need that is directly assessed by security.
Yeah, and based on that level, you would have notifications that would go out, right? And so that's, whether that's automated or there's a human in the chain is kind of.
It's like now we have a lot of little isolated incidents, like a ballast will go out, put a little smell or a little smoke. Like fitness will have a motor smoke, and that's just in the equipment room. So when we're notified, instantly notified, someone goes, checks first, either security, maintenance, whatever, and then it's determined then. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense until it's off hours or vacations. Yeah. So, okay, thanks.
How long can you approximate it might take to install these systems? And while you're doing so, is there going to be any dead time when both systems are offline and not operational yet?
Those are great questions. Yes, so we addressed that in the sense that We will never have to go on fire watch. We'll always have the current system in place or the new one. So the way that we're doing it in phase one is we're just installing the equipment right next to the existing equipment.
Wow.
And so we'll keep that existing equipment live and going until we can actually make full connection. And once all of the devices are installed throughout campus. So yeah, we will never be without a fire alarm system active.
Perfect.
The other question you asked about was schedule. So right now, we are looking at probably about a year for phase one, and then probably at least another year to complete phase two. So it's a fairly long project.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we are going to be sensitive to like the classrooms, instruction, and all of that.
Yes, we already talked to the contractor about if we have to, they can do night work or weekend work, so.
I was curious also about that, you know, how it might interfere with or change how classes are done.
Yeah, that's kind of a delicate matter, and so we try to work around, impact to students as little as possible. And most of the devices are, in hallways and common spaces, so less impact to classrooms. But as we go through, we're probably going to do some night work to avoid, disruption of classes.
Right.
And then we also check with the scheduling, the class scheduling, to make sure that we aren't interrupting anything, so.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, sounds good. We look forward to it.
Yeah.
You had to vote.
I move
Yeah.
to approve the contract.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So approved.
Thank you.
And now we have an informational item from Dr. Morimoto on economic impact.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Vice President Peters. It's my pleasure to share the results of our recent economic impact study. As many of you may recall, the last time we did this was about 5 years ago, around 2018. And so whenever we are talking about the good work we do, people always want to also ask, okay, what's the return on investment, right? That seemed to be really easy understanding of it. And then they say, well, you made up that number, right? And we don't want to say, yes, we came up with a number. Even if our calculation is perfect, there's always some goodness for having some distance from our own evaluation or whether or not we are providing public good to the rest of the community. So to this end, what we have decided to do is contract with a company that has specialized in trying to analyze the economic impact of community colleges nationally. So if you don't mind scrolling down, this is a very simple infographics. And I just want to give people the opportunity to take a look at it real quick. The gist of it is this. The total annual impact, so the impact we make every year to the community, is about 150 million. And what's great about that is the largest portion of that impact comes from the alumni impact, the money the alumni are making in the community, right? So that's about $116.5 million annually each year. If you don't mind, scroll down a little bit more there. So for every dollar spent by students, the student gets $5 in return, right? And that's like a 500% return. I wish there was a stock out there that does that for me. Honestly, I'll put everything in there. And perhaps that's why I was always in education. I love learning and the return on investment. Similar return is happening for society as a whole, right? So every time the society puts $1 in, they get a $5 in return. And this is from increased taxes, but also decreases on the cost, right? From people relying on social services, crime, all those things that happens that are associated with, that decreases as people get more educated by chance. So. Finally, in terms of like annually, how much the students make after they complete an associate degree, that's $39,000. And so compared to students who've earned just a high school diploma in Santa Fe, students will be making $8,700 more each year. And of course, these numbers change, right, depending on which field you're in. So if you go into a field like nursing or welding, you far surpass the bachelor's degree annual earning. But if there's other ones, it might be less. And so, but just keep in mind, those are an average number. And for your reading pleasure, because we never send you enough materials, right? We have also created great details about how the analysis was conducted, further information about the study and such. But this is one thing I wanted to share with the governing board members, especially as the bond election is close, to continue to share the messagings about the value that our community college provides to Santa Fe as a whole. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Yash. Comments, questions?
Chair Gamble, well, I loved it. You know me in numbers, but I especially love this first sheet and think it would be good to use with our legislators and public, and it's a good snapshot of the value to the community.
Absolutely. Thank you for suggesting that. And I think that's one of the purpose of this. If we could just hand it over here and say, because the legislators, whenever we talk to them, that's what they say, right? Yeah, why should we give you more money? Well, here it is. Every dollar you spend, you get $5 in return. You can't beat that investment.
Right.
Right.
One, and I agree, I mean, it's fantastic. One of the questions I had was, alumni, how do they get data about alumni? That seems like a really tough, I mean, ideally, we would know, number one, we would have the names and we'd have contact information on all alumni from the last 35 years, whatever it is.
If you're really interested in going into that level of details, there's a technical manual that's 110 pages that could go in there. But in the very high level perspective, when students graduate from here and work at a particular industry, they become a part of the UI wage data system, that unemployment insurance wage data system. So they take that kind of data. They also do some crawling on the website where people actually post that they got a job here, they got a job there, they extrapolate based on the data there. So it's a number of different kinds of, I mean, at this point, you might as well call it magic, but the magic that people use, right? It's science, but to sort of extrapolate, estimate, and also use some additional data to sort of validate that that estimation is accurate.
Yeah. Other questions, comments? Because one of my other thoughts was, since
Lightcast.
Yeah, since they do this kind of stuff at community colleges, any kind of comparison with other community colleges?
I'm glad you asked that. So NMICC, as an organization, has commissioned a study for the community colleges as a whole. I believe there's some other community colleges, I don't remember which one, may have completed a similar study. So you could take a look at what, once we get those, we could do a comparison there. And so that'll be some examples about community colleges. Now, we also use some of the Lightcast product to look at the local economic impact of different academic programs, as well as our students who come to SFCC who are unsure what they want to complete. There is a sort of a system, right, where they could go in and sort of see, if I go into this career, how much money would I make? If I go into that career, how much would I make? So we worked them very closely. We're pretty pleased with the products they produce because it impacts our students and then also demonstrates, helps us demonstrate our case.
And did you say this will be released?
It's already released. It's on our website.
Okay.
Yeah.
But will it won't be publicly, just put things on a website, it's not going to be sent out to newspapers or?
Well, this is why we worked closely with Todd's office, sort of marketing and public relations office, and so that they could use this for the bond campaign and such.
Right,
so that's how it's going to be used.
Basically what I was thinking about.
Right, and then if you as a governing board members ever happen to stop by in a conversation in the grocery store about SFCC,
right.
I have that right here, right? Hey, you should really, convince your people to go to SFCC because they could be making $8,700 more.
That's actually an interesting idea. We could put out flyers in grocery stores and just leave them in the baskets. Todd?
Yes, Chair Gamble, or we could put flyers on people's windshields. They seem to love that.
Yeah.
A whole lot of guerrilla marketing tactics. No, I appreciate it. Wanted to just chime in briefly that we rejoice when this study comes out, because at first blush you kind of just want to share like the economic impact study is out, but it's harder for people to kind of process that. So what we've done is we take the pieces that we need over the course of years, really. We kind of harvest this for material that it might, bits and pieces of it might come out in a little article that that Emily writes for our e-newsletter, or we have 4 or 5 of these pieces that we'll put in Becky's talking points the next time she talks to a reporter, or I'll weave these into the brochure language that is on our bond campaign. So it's a little bit kind of subtle sometimes of the use, but this is a really important tool for my department.
And I've even seen you guys use it for like not flyers per se, but like advertisement outside and near the entrance to SFCC and such, so people know about it. So yeah, that was true for the previous study as well.
Right. Thank you, Todd. Yash, any other questions?
I have a slightly unrelated question about HLC. So they're coming soon, and in the past they've asked to meet with us. Is that happening? Because if so, we need to get it on our schedules.
They have asked for that, and we have scheduled Chair Gamble and Vice Chair Pugh for that visit.
Great. So we're covered. Thank you, guys.
Can we have other board members if they're interested, or?
If that's the case, absolutely. Just whatever we need to do in terms of public announcement, then we just need to make. And so that's up to the board members, of course.
Oh, we might be right up against that.
Yeah.
That would be my only concern. But other than that, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I think in the future, maybe just give us all the option to go. That would be really good. That way we have plenty of time to notice it. Okay. Okay.
It's, we have
When
it
is it?
scheduled, right?
November 6th and 7th. I'm sorry, November 6th at 4 p.m. We now know the exact time and place.
Okay.
And it will be at the President's Conference Room.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to be there if there's still time. Thank you, Audrey.
Okay. Thank you very much, Josh.
All right, thank you.
Okay, other policy issues? None that I'm aware of. And any other board reports, discussion, or other business?
Yeah, Chair Gamble, I can, so I would just relay that we went to the ACCT conference, Pierre and President Raleigh and myself, and it was very well attended. There were probably over 1,000 people there, 3 or 4 colleges from New Mexico, days of seminars put on by colleges from all over the United States on a wide array of topics. Because there were 3 of us, we pretty much divided up and tried to conquer all the different wide variety of topics. For myself, I focused on board governance, president evaluations, some of the activities that the boards do, and attended most of those type seminars. They had a lot of seminars and talks on enrollment strategies. One of the ones that caught my interest was a little bit different. It was on internal leadership programs at the community colleges. So I attended that one because I know that that's one of the focuses here with the executive team is to develop a internal leadership program. So I brought back some information for Yash that I'm going to share with him and President Raleigh and you, VP Peters. So that's kind of what I focused on. Pierre, do you want to talk a little bit about what you covered?
Yes. So I did a combination of board governance and relationships with the CEO, as well as workforce development. And one session that really impressed me was about this collaboration that ACT has with the state of Maryland and an organization called Opportunity at Work. And they are focused on this movement called Tear the Paper Ceiling. So they're looking at STARS. So these are students who are trained through alternative routes. And what's really fascinating about it is the mayor of Maryland, or the governor of Maryland, removed the bachelor's degree requirement for all public sector jobs. And there are several states that are following suit, and we're probably going to be very slow. But I've called out the governor on social media, hoping that she'll think about this, because I think it's something that our state has a lot to benefit from, especially when it comes to employing community college students and working adults in our community. And one of the things that this group has found is that employers really struggle to articulate the skills that they actually need to get the job done. And for those of us who do this work know that that is in fact a very difficult thing to do, because job announcements and job postings don't always include the things that are required for that organization to meet their objectives and their mission. And so this Opportunity at Work is working with the employers to figure out how do you rewrite your job descriptions. And one of the fascinating things is that our higher ed institutions are notorious for like inflating credentials and saying you need a master's degree for this and you need a PhD for that. And so what I think our charge can be, just as our own organization that hires people in the community, is to look very closely at those academic credentials that we're requiring and think about ways in which we can open up our job postings for people who are otherwise qualified. So that's a couple of takeaways there that I thought were really important. And then as far as like board governance, a couple of the things that Jody mentioned, but I'll rehash here, are ways in which other community colleges run their board meetings. And so thinking about different ways that we could potentially do these things differently, so that we have more engagement, so that they are shorter, so that folks don't feel like they have to be doing other work while the meeting is happening. So ways in which we can improve engagement and be more efficient. So those were things that we looked at. And then we got to meet our colleagues at CNM and New Mexico Junior College. And so we have plans for starting monthly meetings with our colleagues on other community college governing boards. And so we got some preliminary work done on this. And I'm very excited to kind of lead the charge to bring other folks together across the state.
Great. Thank you. Josh.
Just a point of information. Thank you, Board Member Quintana. I completely agree with you about the challenge of higher ed and requiring ridiculous number of degrees for us to hire our employees. At SFCC, we have a standard language that says this number of years of education or experience, right? It's because we do value people who actually have those experiences, especially within our community. And whatever we can do, I think, as a community college sector to encourage that statewide could be a huge boon for New Mexico. So I really appreciate you bringing that up and sharing that with the board members. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Josh.
Okay. Any other issues that board is thinking about and wants to talk about or doesn't want to talk about? Anything from anyone in the audience that someone would like to say that we haven't had on our agenda? Well, we have a volunteer. Very good.
Thank you, Chair Gamble, and members of the board. Vice President Peters, good to see you. And congratulations, Aiden. I just wanted to see I am on the bond rampage, and I want to just make sure that if you have any questions about this at this time, we've got a pretty good room here to talk about it for any listeners or viewers of the meeting. just to share as much as I possibly can. I also have a stack. Yes, very good. I see you got the publication, the tabloid. I mentioned this in our professional development meeting, but I have a whole lot of these brochures, so they're going fast. But if I could also just ask everyone in the room, I have a stack. Please take some with you and share them with your friends and people, the voting public. That's in kind of spreading the gospel of this initiative. What I've been just letting people know is just how incredibly important this is to the college, that it's deep on the ballot. So, you know, it's going to be there at the end. And my hope in sharing more information about this to the public is just that when they come to that question of what do you support general obligation bonds for the college, that people are educated on what exactly that means.
And it's on the back of it's on the back side. Turn that thing over.
It is most certainly on the back. So any questions on that? We've been pretty thorough with this leading up to this, but you know, this is our last chance before the November election. And voting, the college is a voting site, room 409, I believe. 410.
Nope, 409.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, 409. They've done expanded early voting, and that'll take place basically up to the election day, which is November 7th.
Yeah, you've done a great job getting the word out. And I guess the college has had pretty good success over the years with those go bonds. Is that right, Nick?
The way I would frame it, and Nick, answer this how you would like, but we're just incredibly grateful for the support that we receive from the Santa Fe community. It really, the outcomes of these elections really says a lot about our relationship to our town, because they do come out very strongly in support of these. So I have my own personal benchmarks about how I want this election to go. I would like to beat our last one, which was, I think, like a 78% approval rate. So we're trying to, really, this is an opportunity to refresh and reset and share what the college's relationship to, like, our community is. And so, yeah, but it is a testament to the bonds and the reliant. We really need the voters to support us. It's an important part of what we do.
Yes, Mr. Chair, on that point, Todd knows the numbers on the last election better than I do, and we are so fortunate to have such great support by the community here, because, you know, over a 70% support in favor of these bonds is a sign of the community's commitment and you know, just great support of the college. And I just want to point out that if we didn't have these bonds, we wouldn't have the Automotive Technology Center.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that was a real grassroots effort by the dealers in town that came together and nearly demanded that the college did, you know, provide some sort of training center for auto technicians and things of that nature. So without that bond, we would not have been able to do that. That program is incredibly full and you know, a high degree of interest and very important to the local automotive businesses here in town. And we've avoided a lot of these students ending up going to Phoenix for the same type of training. That's what was brought to our attention, and so we're trying to keep these students here at home in the local community, and that's how these bonds can really help. And so I just wanted to kind of just refresh your memory on that one, because that was a huge, very, very, like, talk about a bond that really did everything it was supposed to do and had a great impact. That's a perfect example of what can be done with these things.
And this time around, we're not asking for new building, new structures. So yeah, we're not expanding square footage with this. This is for existing spaces. But Nick is absolutely right. The Health and Sciences Center was supported by a local bond funds, if I believe, the Higher Education Center. So, Santa Fe has shown their support year or, election after election for our college.
The bonds that are approved, and that amount is 65 cents, basically 65 cents on $1,000 of assessed value of a property. So the total combined is 3.501, and that's the old previous rate. When you issue bonds, and we're asking the voters to approve $23 million, we do that with trying to keep the tax rates completely flat. And in this chart that you see in this brochure, you'll see that the operating mill, when we issue these bonds, is actually planned to go down from 2.851 to 2.820. It's a very, very tiny amount, but it's actually decreasing, and the debt service mill levy for bond debt service is remaining flat at 0.65. So what we believe, at least in our early calculations, is that the total mill that comes to Santa Fe Community College for both operating revenue and debt service payments is going to decrease from 3.501 to 3.470. And so technically, when we calculate these numbers, technically the rate, your property tax rate to Santa Fe Community College will go down just a hair. And we will still be able to issue these bonds in the amount of $23 million if the voters do approve of it. So I think that's important. This time around, we were making sure we did everything to have taxes remain stable and not have an increase in any way. And in this case, we're able to do this, and the rates for SFCC will come down just slightly. Now, it's always a tricky thing because on the property tax bill, the rate to Santa Fe Community College is not the only one on there.
Mhm.
There's a rate for the public schools, there's a rate for the state and the county and those things. So those other ones may go up, may go down. But the one that is itemized to Santa Fe Community College is actually planned to kind of decrease a little bit.
That was really helpful because when we get the bill, I've heard comments in my household like, look how much SFCC is taking. I'm like, no. Now I can explain it better. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well, I guess I'm still a little bit, how can we keep the operational mill at that rate if we're asking for another $23 million?
Because with that rate, we've paid off the outstanding bonds. So the amount that is outstanding has decreased, and the money that you have to pay it back
Okay.
over time has decreased, so it allows you through financial means.
I see. Okay.
to
That makes
issue
sense.
more,
Yeah.
to be able to issue that amount of bonds
Right.
and still
Yeah.
pay it back with the
Okay.
rate that you're continuing to get. And that's why we want to create a stabilized tax situation for the county, because it just helps with people knowing how to plan and
Sure.
we keep things remaining stable. We want
Right.
to avoid taxes going down at a certain point and then having to come back
Mhm.
and ask people for tax increases, which you know how much that's received. And we totally want to avoid doing that, because we do need these bonds to really maintain the deferred maintenance of the college, and also keep the facility in a competitive way where students are receiving the proper, resources, that they would be able to receive at other institutions that we ultimately have to compete with, right? So, very important.
Good, thank you for that clarification. Other comments, questions? Other items for anyone to bring up? Okay, thank you kindly. We can now entertain, there will not.
Just kidding.
What?
A motion to adjourn?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet. First, we will clarify there will not be a meeting next month. We're going to indeed celebrate Thanksgiving instead. So we will not come here. There will be no turkey here. But we will have a meeting in December, and it will be a joint meeting with the Foundation Board. And now I will entertain.
I move to adjourn.
Motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much
you.
for your,
Kelly has some information for you.
Quick announcement, we were gifted some cakes from Nothing But Cakes in our office, so if you want to come to the president's kitchen, we have some cakes you'd like to share.
oh, wow.
From Nothing But Cakes.
Nothing but